for tonight and would like to start with a small presentation. So first, on the structure of today's open house, I'll rush you through a short introduction. Then it's time for our beloved professor, Professor Odağ, who is a professor of psychology, and she'll give you the insight on the psychology program. After that, it's about student life and the student experience at Touro Berlin. And here we have our psychology student and part of the student government, Ms. Ogalla-Lopez. After that, it's time for our alumni, Carrie Toptan, who graduated in 2017 and will tell you about her alumni experience and basically how do you pursue, how you go on, what it is like to have a degree from us, and where does it lead you. Then it's time for our admissions officer, Scott Meyer. Scott is a very important person, obviously, at Touro Berlin, and it's all about connecting to him, get to know him, and he will guide you in a nutshell through all the bits and pieces of the admission process. Last but not least, Gibbesch, our recruitment officer. Tal will tell you about student services, scholarship, housing, and many, many more. Tal is a powerhouse. And at the end, we'll have our Q&A section. So feel free to put your questions into our chat. And at the end, we'll distribute them. Tal will distribute them. And we will try to answer all your questions. So let's go. An American university in Berlin. Indeed, we are. We were founded in 2003 in Berlin, and we are part of an international university system, the Touro University System, which is based in Berlin and is more than 30 years old. We try here to prepare you for the professional world, to give you all the tools and skills needed to succeed in 21st century and embark a successful career in your field. Our multicultural environment is conducive to learning and gives you a unique perspective to collaboration, teamwork for all students, for each student. We strive to provide you a unique opportunity for an international education, entirely in English, in Berlin on our beautiful campus. And we are the only higher education institution to offer a dual degree option. We are accredited in Germany and in the US. Now on that, even more. So you can earn a German and an American degree for the same tuition because we are accredited in both countries. What does that mean? So in the future, you can stay in Europe with your German degree and work in every European country, especially in Germany, but also go to the US. We are therefore accredited by the German Wissenschaftsrat, which is basically the German state, and acts as an accrediting agency. And from the American perspective, we are accredited by the Middle States and the New York Department of Education. So what makes us unique? We have small class sizes, international professors who know you personally, so you are part of the Touro family and not just a number. All professors are very well connected, so unique internships and even your first employment goes through our network. We have tailor-made teaching and learning methods. We do offer financial aid, housing, scholarships, all that is available. And once the pandemic is over, because you are part of the Touro University system, you can spend a semester abroad. So how about going to LA, New York, Moscow, Nevada, or even Jerusalem for one semester without all the hassles because you're just part of our network? A question that I often get asked is, what's with student body diversity? Where do your students come from? So basically, being based in Berlin, most of our students, the biggest chunk comes from Germany, but this doesn't mean they are German. Obviously, all people that live in Germany would count in this group, expats, people who are fluent in English. The next biggest group is students from the US, and after that, you name it. Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Russia, Asia, Africa, Israel, the Middle East. So to my knowledge, at this point, we have 60 nationalities at our Touro Berlin campus. Another question, obviously, is what do you do with your degree? So here are some things. Our graduates are highly sought after, and as an example, you can go on and do a master's degree in psychology. After that, you can become a clinical psychologist. You can go with a big corporation and have a position as a HR person or as a market researcher, or even give your career a spin and after that go into medicine or all that fields to that related. More on this next topic, obviously from our students and from student government, but we do have a very active student government. We do offer student clubs, events, holiday celebration, group study sessions, and many more to come after the pandemic. Here you have a quick look at our beautiful campus. Obviously not allowed at the moment to join, everything is online, but hopefully very, very soon we'll all meet there. And in times of pandemic, we did invest in our IT infrastructure. So we do offer hybrid classes after the pandemic with brand new equipment. What does that mean? It means that if you are, for instance, for a week stuck in Spain or have an important appointment and cannot make it to your class in person, you can watch it online, join the class online through our hybrid teaching facilities, even though all your co-students would be in class. So welcome. Feel free to ask us a lot of questions. Let's connect. Give us a call, give us an email, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, join us on LinkedIn, and we are here to answer all your questions. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I would now hand over to Professor Odağ.
Thank you so much, Michael, for this really nice introduction into our Touro College Berlin. I really wish I had had the opportunity to study here. My name is Professor Dr. Özen Odağ, and I would like to tell you a little bit about psychology more generally and what it is, and then tell you a little bit about how exactly we practice psychology and how we teach it at Touro College Berlin. Did you actually know that psychology is derived from a composite of two Greek words? Psyche means the soul, and logos means study. So actually, when we carry out psychology, when we practice psychology, we study the human soul. Now that all sounds very mysterious, but what it really comes down to in the practice of psychology today is that we study human behavior, and we do that by using scientific methods. So we ask ourselves a variety of different questions, such as, why do people do what they do? Yeah, why do they sometimes help others while they withhold help sometimes in the most excruciating situations? How do humans become ill? How do they develop disorders? How can we actually treat these disorders? What is human happiness? How can we define it? And how can we increase it? What is trauma? How can we define it? How can humans come out of that trauma in resilient ways? Underlying all of these questions surrounding the psychology of human behavior is the assumption that behavior can be known, that we can observe it, and that behavior follows an orderly pattern. And that means that there's some sort of a regularity to all of this behavior, and it applies, these laws, this regularity applies universally to human beings in general. And these regularities we try to understand by using scientific methods. At Touro College Berlin, we do this too. We actually have a large variety represented among our professors here at Touro College. I would like to just give you a brief snapshot of who your professors will be when you come here. There's a large variety in terms of where they come from. So we also have diversity, cultural diversity represented among professors. But we also have a large variety concerning the areas of specialization that each faculty represents. So for example, we have here Professor Dr. Buhin. She's a multicultural counselor, and she's engaged in the area of racism prevention. She carries out really state-of-the-art research in these areas, and she counts as an expert on many international research boards, and she teaches these areas, obviously, as well. We have an expert here on trauma and dissociation. This is Professor Dr. Andrew Moskowitz. He is from the States originally. Actually, Professor Dr. Buhin is from Croatia, and she's spent many, many years in the US. So she's also an international scholar. Coming back to Professor Dr. Moskowitz, he's actually, I think, the chair of the European Trauma Association. So he's really a big shot in the area. He practices in the area in terms of carrying out research, and he teaches at Touro College Berlin. Next, that's me, Özen, Odağ. I have a background, well, I have roots in Turkey. My parents are from Turkey, and I've lived in Germany. So again, international scholar, but my work is also international. So I look at the ways in which individuals use the media and how they are affected by using the media. And with the media, the term is quite comprehensive. I mean, social media, internet media, but also more traditional media like books and television and video games, etc. And my area of specialization specifically is about minorities using the media, and asking myself how we can empower minorities and vulnerable populations through the use of social media. How can we make their voices heard? How can they become more politically engaged and active in societies where they're really not the dominant population? Then we have a psychoanalyst on board, Professor Dr. Thijs Abendroth. He is really a very well-rounded psychotherapist and psychoanalyst, and he's been based for many, many years in Berlin, so he knows very much the professional area of psychotherapy in Germany and Berlin. We all have our specializations, but despite our specializations, of course, we teach very broadly all types of different topics in psychology. And the variety that we teach, I would like to show you on this slide. Here you see a number of courses. I don't think this list is complete, but you see in pink all sort of the basic areas of psychology. For example, the psychology of motivation, the psychology of development, social psychology, personality, biological psychology, cross-cultural psychology. And you will be asked to take these courses one after the other. Don't take them all at the same time, obviously. In turquoise, you see the more applied areas of psychology, of which IO psychology, or industrial and organizational psychology, is one. So if you want to go into the business world, the private sector, and work for HR, this is an interesting area that you should be familiar with. Another area, however, is here in bright turquoise. That's the applied area of clinical psychology. And I'm sure that many of you who are joining us today have an interest in this area. It's a very common, typical area for psychologists to engage with. And we have courses as various as abnormal psychology, clinical psychology, introduction to counseling and therapy, etc. Next to these very informative substance type courses, we also have a large variety of research methods courses. You see these marked in red here. They're red flagged. They're not really liked so much among students typically, except for at Touro College Berlin, because we teach them really well and they're a lot of fun. Because what we do in Introduction to Empirical Research or Experimental Psychology or Qualitative Methods is to actually carry out really interesting research, inspiring studies together that we have been able to publish with students and present at conferences so far. In purple, you see we also have advanced topics courses, and we teach in the areas of our specialization. Media psychology would, of course, be taught by me. Finally, when you come to Touro College Berlin and you study all of these courses with us, what you're going to be is you're going to become part of a large Italian family. And we will take you by the hand and take you through all of these courses and help you to develop and grow. What we will also do is at many opportunities, we will actually be able to include you in the ongoing research that we are practicing. We've had students go to conferences in Puerto Rico with us. We have had students publish papers with us. We have just last week won the top poster award for a study that we carried out with students at Touro College Berlin. So we really help each other. Students help us, we help the students, and we would be very thrilled to have you as part of this family. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll give back to Michael Rosenzweig.
Thank you so much, Özen, for your first introduction on our psychology program. Actually, I think I have even learned a lot from this presentation. So before I hand over to Marina in order to tell us about student life, student experience, student government, one thing for those who listen closely to me, I said, put your questions into the chat. It is the Q&A section. So don't get confused with that. Please ask in the Q&A section. So now I would turn over to you, Marina, to tell us about student life.
Thank you, Michael. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. First of all, thank you for showing up today and showing interest for the psychology program. It's a pleasure for me to be able to express my perspective as a student in Touro. My name is Marina Ogalla, and I am a senior psychology student at Touro. I am also part of the student government, and my role is to be the psychology representative. So I arrived to Touro 2 years ago as a transfer student. I am originally from Barcelona, Spain, and I went to high school in Spain, but when I turned 18, I decided to move to New York City. I studied English, I got my TOEFL, and I studied my bachelor's degree in psychology there. I went to a very large college. We were a lot of students. So I think I'm able to compare and contrast the similarities and differences between a large and a smaller college. And after my 2 years in New York, I decided to move back to Europe to change a little bit the climate and the perspective in general. So I started researching all around Europe what college will fit me better, in the sense of I wanted a college that was in Europe, that was in English, that had a US degree accredited program, that had a good psychology program, and that the location was also something beneficial. So my first interaction with Touro College Berlin, when I found out about it, it was amazing because I sent an email, and the first thing that really drew me into Touro College was the customer service. I remember I sent an email to Scott. He is part of the admission officer, and he answered me immediately. He offered me so much information about the school, and I really appreciated that, because in my old school, the customer service was lacking. We were so many students, it was a struggle to get a meeting. It was a struggle to be able to contact somebody. So that was the first thing that I really liked about Touro College. Then once I was accepted and I was part of the students there, the best thing about Touro College is that the fact that it's a small school, it allows you that one-on-one experience, which means that you get a personal treatment with professors. We can be like from 5 to 15 in class, which that is a privilege in college. It's a huge privilege, and you can get the best out of your classes. It's kind of individually centered. Also, a thing that I really appreciate about Touro College is the teaching methodology. But what I mean by that is that we use kind of like a collective pedagogy, which means that we have very interactive and dynamic classes. We all learn from each other. I feel like we don't learn for the exams, you learn for life. You actually get the lessons through. And that's thanks to the methodology that we are being taught. Now, this is thanks to the amazing professors we have, which is also something that really caught my attention about Touro. They are great scholars, but they not only educate us, but professors are also motivating and inspiring. That's great. And lastly, I also really appreciate the community sense that we have. The fact that we are a small school, we all know each other, we are very international, we have people from all the cultures, all the backgrounds, all religions, and this really empowered us as a college. According to the online experience, I was lucky enough to live the transition between the in-person to the online life in college. So what I will say is that the transition was very easy to do. First of all, because professors adapted very nicely. Students, the fact that we are a community, we supported each other a lot. It was not a difficult transition. But the most important thing is that the quality of our lessons were the same as in person. We followed the program as it was. We did not miss classes. The quality stayed the same or even better. Now, in our Zoom classes, we are very distinctive because we have very interactive Zoom classes, which means that you have to come awake. You cannot be with your camera off. We are constantly talking. We are constantly sharing ideas and learning from each other. Like I said, that collective pedagogy style. So our Zoom classes are very highly participative. It's not boring at all. It's just like a regular class, but you are in the comfort of your home. Now, lastly, I mentioned before, I'm part of the student government. For those of you who don't know, the student government, we are a group of students. We are kind of like the bridge between students and the Touro administration. So our main goal is to offer student support with advice, guidance, doubts. We even have, imagine how small the school is, that we have a WhatsApp group with all the students there. And we discuss things, we help each other. It's really amazing, the support that we share. More things that the student government do, we promote and we organize events. What does that mean? Sometimes we have workshops, which means that you can come to an event and learn about motivation. We have workshops about how to write a curriculum, workshops about how to apply to a scholarship. We also have speakers coming to our school. Not too long ago, we had an amazing group of speakers, which was, the topic was women in business, but we also had opportunity investments in Indonesia. We have a lot of great speakers that come and inspire us. And also one big new announcement that we have in student government is like we just started what we call Touro College Berlin Talks. It's kind of similar to TED Talks. So it's a great opportunity for students to improve their public speaking skills. And tomorrow we have the first ever Touro College Berlin talk, which if any of you is interested to really see how is the inside of the school, I will actually recommend you to come tomorrow. We can send the Zoom link later, because you could get a glimpse of how the students support each other and how we do our events. We have also created clubs, which means that we have a space weekly or bi-weekly where students meet and we build skills, we discuss topics, and we also create relationships between the students. We have the politics club, the yoga club, and the self-development club. And more clubs are coming. So we are really making that student life active. Last but not least, I want to say that I arrived to Touro with a lot of passion about psychology, but I didn't know where I was going in life. I just knew I loved psychology. I really wanted to study, but I am leaving Touro knowing where I'm going in life. I know what do I want to study, how do I want to spend my career. So Touro did not only educate me, but it also guided me, it empowered me, it motivated me to do better. And that's something that you cannot get in most of colleges. I'm proud to be a student, and I'm also very honored to be able to say that Touro College was the one who I graduated from in psychology. And that being said, I really recommend you to come tomorrow to the Touro Talks. And Michael, I send it back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your insight. I think our students are honestly our best ambassadors, so to say, in order to get to know the experience at our school. Thank you once again. So next, I would give it over to Carrie Toptan, our alumnus, to tell us about the alumni experience. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Michael. So long story short, I'm actually from Berlin. So for me, it was kind of like a more or less decision of what I want to do, where I want to go. So I always wanted to study in English. So obviously Touro College Berlin was like the best choice to go for. And I remember when I saw the campus for the first time, and I really hope at some point you will be able to see the campus because it's amazing. You actually forget that you're like in Berlin. Like, you know, it's just an amazing campus. I really miss it a lot. And so I went there and wanted to ask a couple of questions for like the programs. And then there was a psychology program, which was very new. So I started in 2013. And I was like, yes, I want to do that. Psychology sounds great. I was really interested in it. So I applied, got into Touro and started my studies. So it was really great, like to see how the curriculum developed. Like from there, it's amazing to see, like it was already an amazing curriculum while I was there, but now it even seems to be like better. So you even get like a better experience probably than I did. But we started with 5 students, and then I think towards the end I was actually the first one to graduate from the psychology program. And I did both degrees. So I've done like the American and the German one. And it was like, so you basically get like a broad understanding of psychology. And when I started, I was pretty much like, I don't know what I want to do, because you can do anything with it. So my best tip would be just to go ahead, talk to your professors. They will definitely be able to like kind of help you out, give some advice for that. I've done a couple of research internships because I decided I kind of want to go into research because this is where I kind of can help most, since I wanted to work with children. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do some research internships, gain some experience. Could be able to do that. My professors helped me out with that. So that was actually quite a great thing, because you don't usually get that at like a bigger university. And then I was also part of the student government. I was president for like 2 years. And it was just again, amazing experience, like the professors are just there to support you with anything, not even the professors, the whole staff too. Even like sometimes when I'm still in Berlin, I find some time I just go and visit, because I still feel so connected to the campus and to the uni. And, you know, like towards the end of my studies, which was like obviously 2017, I was like, what do I want to do? And then I think I kind of was looking for different master's programs. I knew that I wanted to go to England, since they have like 1-year master programs. So after I kind of like decided what I want to do, I looked up at master programs in the UK and found this actually really good program in clinical neurodevelopmental sciences at King's College London. I applied there, got in, and this is basically where my next stage started. I was basically I'm still specializing in autism. That was kind of like the field that I'm really interested in. So towards the end of Touro, I knew I wanted to work with children. And then I was always interested in autism. So when I found this program, I was like, it's actually the perfect program for me. And moved on to that. It was actually just planned to stay like for 1 year in England. I'm still here. Moved on to do like another master's in neuroimaging, still at King's College London, because I always loved MRI. And my idea was to combine MRI and autism. So kind of this is what I did in my project. So both of my dissertations actually focused on the EU AIMS project, which is the worldwide biggest autism study in the world right now. So if you want to have a look at that, it's called EU AIMS study, just if you're interested. Worked on that for my dissertations, and then I kind of knew I wanted to do a PhD. So my ultimate goal is to be teaching at university, be like a professor at some point, but that's still very many years ahead. So after my kind of like masters, both of my masters, I kind of applied for different PhD programs. And I actually applied for like one at the University of Portsmouth, where I'm studying at the moment. It's the PhD in computing, but I'm not doing any computing stuff. I'm basically the psychologist in the lab. So my thesis focuses on hand movements in autistic children and how we can like kind of like improve the math curriculum for them. So long story short, if you're not familiar with it, England has many specialized autism schools compared to like mainstream schools, which are like the neurotypical schools. So it's kind of interesting just to see how different the curriculums are and how still kind of similar they are. So this is kind of what I focus on. And I work like in an interdisciplinary team, with me, again, being the only psychologist in the lab, and like everyone else being computer scientists or engineers. And I basically do like 6 experimental scenarios focusing on different types of hand movements. And then we're just going to compare and see the differences. So this is kind of more or less what I'm doing, still like focusing on autism. Touro actually, I must say, helped me a lot to like kind of decide what I want to do, or like kind of gave me different opportunities. As I said, just talking to professors like kind of helped me to make up my mind. Because, you know, like if you start the program or if you just start psychology, you always think like, oh yeah, I can just do clinical stuff, but you can actually work in so many different fields. And I'm like forever thankful for like just having the opportunity to study at Touro College, who basically just opened the world up for me in my field. And yeah, it was actually just amazing. I'm still thinking about it a lot. And just since I'm done, just up back to you, Michael.
Thank you so much for your insight, and great to know that you want to become a professor. So one never knows, maybe you'll be back at Touro at some stage. So next would be Scott Meyer. Scott, our admissions officer. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Professor Odağ, for your expertise earlier, and especially thank you to Marina and Carrie for really interesting insights. It's always good to hear the students' perspective. Yeah, so as mentioned, I'm Scott Meyer, the admissions officer here at Touro College Berlin, and today I'd like to give you kind of a brief overview of kind of how we approach our undergraduate admissions, especially for psychology. So you've heard quite a few times today actually about a big advantage of studying at Touro is our small class sizes. So to ensure our students get the most out of these, we're looking to accept motivated and passionate, prepared students. Marina just mentioned that you have to come to classes awake, which I love. I think it's a really nice way to put it. So to that end, we try to get as full a picture as possible of our applicants. So we look at your grades. That's important, of course. But we also require a number of other application elements to kind of get a full picture. So for example, we need a letter of motivation, where you describe why you're applying to Touro, what interests you about psychology, where you see yourself in the future, that kind of thing. A letter of recommendation from someone who can vouch for your commitment to learning, your attitude in the classroom, how you approach new challenges, again, that kind of thing. And importantly, we interview all of our applicants. I say it's an interview, so it's with myself and one of our professors, but we like to kind of approach it more of a conversation. So our applicants are encouraged to ask as many questions as they wish about the program, our students, the college, just to make sure this is a good fit for both parties. The admissions process itself, it's a simple two-step procedure. So the first step is to submit your application documents, and the second step is the interview that I just mentioned. We process applications on an ongoing basis. So that means we'll begin to the admissions process for you as soon as we receive all your application documents. We're not going to wait until the application deadline to expire. So generally speaking, we can issue an acceptance decision in about 3 weeks, of course, depending on availability for interviews and such things, which is helpful if you need to get a visa. You can get one earlier and give you enough time to get that all sorted and join us on campus in time for classes. For the sake of timeliness, I'm not going to rattle off every single document that we need. You can find a full list of these on our website under the How to Apply page. But I want to impress on you today that I am here to guide you through the entire process. Should you encounter any hiccups, have any concerns, if something's not clear to you. I know from personal experience that navigating university admissions can be daunting. It's often confusing, can kind of feel like you're sending your application to a void. So at Touro, we strive to be different to that. We're responsive, we're hands-on. You'll find our admissions office and really any administrative office on campus to be approachable, flexible, and solutions-oriented. So for example, if you're having trouble getting official documents or transcripts due to COVID, you can apply with scans and simply provide the official documents once you receive them later on. If you won't get your TOEFL results until after the application deadline. If you've been out of school for a number of years, you can't get a letter of recommendation from a professor or a teacher, don't panic, simply contact me and I'm sure we can figure out a solution based on your specific circumstances. So I urge you all to come join us. Like I said, that was very brief. If you have any specific questions, feel free to leave them in the Q&A or reach out to me directly at admissions@touroberlin.de and I'll be happy to help. All right, back to you, Michael.
Thank you, Scott. Great as always. So next on my list is Tal Gibbesch, our recruitment officer. Tal, here you are. Stage is yours.
Thank you, Michael. So I hope that people can hear me. Okay. So I'm the recruitment officer. I'm also dealing with student services. And what I work mainly is for housing for students, new students, people who come to Berlin, people who need to find an apartment or a room. We recommend flat sharing because it's much better for young people. We have an agreement with a management company here in Berlin that for rooms and apartments, 45 minutes public transportation ride tops from campus, fully furnished, with reasonable prices. Everything is included, and the house management, they talk English, so you don't have a problem of language barrier. with anything that you need help more than that. So we are very, I'm always available in my email. I'll put it in the chat. And we also do career development services, which means I do consulting as former HR professional. I do consulting, how to write CV, how to apply for a job. And also we have on our Instagram, you can follow on the stories, internships and student jobs offers that we find and we offer to our students. Also, I can tell you that in mid-May, we're going to have a workshop with another HR professional explaining how to search for a job for a student, how to write CV in Germany and Europe and US, and how to function in an interview. In addition to that, we have workshops. So we had, as Marina said, motivation workshop, and we're going to have scholarships, how to apply to a scholarship, which something that we also help with like consulting, especially for you, according to your background, religion, nationality, everything that you can think of, and then that we can think of, and we do this together after you enrolled, and then we can figure how to apply to a scholarship that you want together. One thing that I want to end with is Berlin lectures that we have around the year. One of the great lectures that we had was it's a panel discussion about hate speech that Professor Odağ actually led, and then we had a lot of people from all over the world, and we heard about hate speech, the influence in the world during Corona time online. And on that note, I would actually ask to tell you that Professor Odağ, she was too humble to mention this, but she and Professor Buchin-Kanek, the Dean and Professor of Psychology, they won a grant, a huge grant of over €1 million for their research regarding anti-Semitism online. So it's more to come, and follow our social media channels. And yeah, after that, you can ask Marina and Carrie. I sent a link in the chat, so you can go there and then ask them questions when all the rest are not here. So now we go to the Q&A part. If you don't mind, please all turn on your video and audio. So we have also viewers on Facebook that they also send questions. And I guess it's the most popular question ever. And I'll refer it to you, Michael, if possible. How do we handle in time when it's possible to come back to campus? Do we have any regulations, hygiene, things like that? So if you can explain.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, the status quo is that the Berlin government at the moment is only allowing online teaching. Once this is lifted, we will see to what extent it is lifted. If we get back to normal, obviously it's back to normal. If it is with some lock steps on that extent, we do have all hygiene facilities here at Touro Berlin, be it hygiene sanitizers, measuring temperature up at front gate, piles of masks to provide to our students. At the moment, all our admin staff have the option to get tested for Corona once a week. So there is basically a small little book that I had the pleasure of writing on that with regulations in terms of Corona. So be assured, if it is allowed to be back on campus, we are more than prepped for that.
Okay, thank you. I think there is a question for Professor Odağ. If we only choose psychology, are we able to study all of it, or we will only have one specific course?
I'll just go back to this program slide. I saw the question, Yes, you are studying all of it. So at the end of the day, you come out of Touro College Berlin as a well-rounded scholar, as a well-rounded psychologist that really knows a large variety of different areas of the profession, not just one small specialization, but a more comprehensive psychology program. This is what we offer. And that, of course, is associated with very many opportunities. With a program like this in your pocket, you have choices. You have many, many choices. And I have experienced students as actually becoming inspired by these topics as they learn about them. So you start perhaps with an interest in clinical psychology, and you end up being part of an HR department in the private sector. You start with an interest in clinical psychology, and like me, you become a media psychologist. So these things happen, and I think a broad and comprehensive program like this really gives you the option to sneak into everything and to study all of these really inspiring topics from within.
Thank you. I'll refer the next question to Scott. Actually, two questions that maybe you can answer briefly. Do I need to learn German? And do I get a student visa if I'm coming outside of the EU?
Sure. The first one, you do not need to know German. Even though our German degree is accredited in Germany, it is taught in English. So knowing German is not a requirement for admissions. But of course, if you're looking to study in Germany, it's encouraged. English is widely spoken in Berlin. It's super cosmopolitan here, so you can get by quite well and speaking English. But to kind of really get the most out of your experience in Germany, it's always encouraged to learn the basics before you come. And the next one, a visa. So when you're accepted, we'll give you an official acceptance letter, which is required by most visa issuing authorities to get granted a study visa to come to Germany. So that's the most important thing. But if you need any other documentation, we're happy to kind of issue whatever is required for you to show at the embassy or the consulate so you can secure your visa.
Okay, we have another question. I have another question for you. Someone from Albania, but I'm pretty sure it's kind of the same in other countries as well. In Albania, we don't grade students by GPA, only by nota, from nota 5 to 10. Can we send our high school diploma in nota or translated and explained in English?
So yeah, we are aware of the different systems throughout the world. So what we will need in your documents, they'll need to be translated into German or into English so we can at least read them. If you are applying to the American degree, you can send your translated documents directly to me, and I can analyze those. If you're applying to the German program, you'd have to go through UniAssist, so they can analyze your Albanian high school diploma and kind of determine whether you can enter a German degree, because it's a little bit more complicated than the American. But yeah, it doesn't have to be the American GPA. We can kind of figure it out based on where you're from.
Okay. There's a question that I would take actually about housing. Do we get to live in dorms, or we have to look for our own place to live? So we give you the option to live in rooms or apartment, but not on campus. Campus is beautiful, is amazing, next to a lake, but we don't have dorms here. But the rooms and the apartments that we give the option to, as long as you're a tourist student, they're kind of closed by public transportation, and but it's not a dorm. It's not dorms. So this is, and you don't have to search for yourself. If you do choose to search by yourself, so then you can turn to me, and I can help with searching. And I think that we also, it's after Corona, and when relocation is more practical and realistic, so then we will issue relocation guide. to all new students. I think we have a lot of questions, so I really hope that we can do this. Okay, that actually I would like to refer to the students. What is the difference between the American degree, German degree, and dual degree? So maybe Carrie, you want to take it?
Yes, sure. So, okay, let me just start. So basically in the American degree, you have certain courses, so-called general requirements that you have to do. So those are like kind of like the things like literature, or like history, and courses like that, which is actually quite a nice break sometimes from having psychology classes. The German degree is very much like mainly psychology, let's put it like that. So you don't have like that much variability, I would say, compared to the American one. So if you do both together, you kind of literally need to have a look at like, okay, I'm going to do these courses that are required for both. And then sometimes you have to do courses that are required for like each one separately too. Does this make sense? The other thing is also that, for example, even if you've done more courses that might not be required, for example, for the German degree, they will still be listed on your transcript. So you will still get like kind of like little description of like, your grades and like the courses that you've made. So don't worry, they don't get lost. They still, everything will be there basically.
Okay. A question that we got from Facebook viewer to Marina. That you talked about multicultural international environment of the students, but sometimes there are probably conflicts. How do you deal with conflicts when you have such an international environment? Because we teach in English, so we have probably more international than the public universities, the big universities. So if you can give an example or share an experience.
Well, that's a good question, actually. The way we deal with conflicts. I mean, first of all, I feel like the education that we get in some of the psychology classes are key. Like we touch on topics like cross-cultural psychology and like multicultural and racism and situations like this. But I have not encountered any issue due to culture, actually. And like I said, we have the group chat and we always talk the things, but it's always very formal. We don't have issues, if that makes sense, about this.
Well, that's a good answer. I'm happy to hear. I think we're going to take one last question and then I'll give it back to Michael. This is for the professor. As a part of the psychology program slide, I didn't see philosophy of psychology box. Is philosophy of psychology taught at Touro?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't include all the courses. I mean, I would say that's part of the general education component that we have, but so it's not part of the substance courses in psychology, because the philosophy of psychology is also something that is comprehensive enough that can count for other scientific disciplines as well. So where does actually the scientific thought, the scientific questioning about human behavior, where does this come from? It comes from the idea that we can study human behavior scientifically. And this science idea is something that can be applied across the board to so many different disciplines. So it's a course that I would say is perhaps not specifically psychology, and it's also taught at Touro College Berlin at the intersection between the business program and the psychology program, because it's such a broad topic. I have my hand up here because I wanted to say something about this intercultural conflict thing. Yes, I mean, I do really appreciate, Marina, you're saying we don't have any conflicts. That's nice, but I think that also comes from the fact that we really tackle the issue of intercultural communication. And this is a mission that is dear to us. We practice here tolerance for diversity. We embrace differences in a way that perhaps are not embraced at other places to the same extent. This is our mission. And this is not just the mission that we practice day to day in our daily lives, but we practice it in the courses that we offer to students at Touro College Berlin. So even when I teach a course in industrial and organizational psychology, I teach the international perspective. I teach IO psychology from the perspective of what happens when different religions, different nations, different sexual orientations come together and create conflict at the workspace. So we educate our students exactly in this across a large variety of different courses that we offer here.
Thank you. Before I give it back to Michael, I just want to remind everyone that I just put the link again in the chat with the after party with Marina and Carrie for more questions or conversation. You have also the link in the email, in the reminder email that you got. And tomorrow we're going to send all the links and emails, and including the link for tomorrow's event of the student government tomorrow by email. So follow us, and back to you, Michael.
Thank you very much. So what else is there to say? Honestly, first of all, thank you very much to all of our audience for bearing with us for, it was nearly an hour. Then thanks so much to all the participants, to Marina, to Carrie, to Scott, to our Professor Odağ, to share her time with us today, and to Tal for basically prepping all that, setting it all up. So thank you very much to all of you guys. Then I hope that all of us meet soon on campus in person. That's my dearest wish. And obviously then we'll also meet new students who then say, I saw you in this open house and now I see you in person. That's something that I wish for the next time we are all on campus. So stay healthy, thanks a lot, and take care. See you in the next one.